Everyone seems to have really taken to the new White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt. Number one is we have not had a press secretary that actually worked for the last 4 years. Karine Jean-Pierre did not address the media. So for the first time, suddenly all these journalists have someone to ask questions to. Where have they been for 4 years? Here she is. Now, here she's caught on an impromptu video, Caroline Leavitt, and you'll see just how clever she is. She can think on her feet. She knows what she's doing. She only looks like a rock star because Karine Jean-Pierre was so incredibly bad. Welcome to the Doug TenNapel channel. Watch this.
Meeting.
We'll make it fast.
And then I'll be back out in a little bit if you have more. What's going on?
One question about these buyouts. You've been describing it as this effort to get folks to return to work. The union that represents federal workers, though, says this isn't a voluntary buyout. They say this is a purge of people that don't agree with the president. What's your response?
That's absolutely false. This is a suggestion to federal workers that they have to return to work. And if they don't, then they have the option to resign. And this administration is very generously offering to pay them for 8 months.
How many of you have been fired or can, but offered 8 months work? It is very generous. But by the way, just this question alone by the media this is the 50th time they've re-asked this question to her. They just don't like the answer and they can't handle it. Now, I did submit our name, this channel's name, to be in that White House press briefing. They have 2 seats open per press briefing. Maybe we'll get lucky. I don't know. I've sent my credentials in. I think it'd be funny. One thing that would be true is I would not ask the questions that most of these media people are asking, because I don't think they're asking questions that the people want to know about. I would ask questions that I thought the broadest American audience would really want to know about the administration today. And that's my problem with a lot of these media people is they don't even ask the questions.
6% of the federal workforce in the city actually shows up to work. That's unacceptable. We're all here at work at the office. There are law enforcement officers and teachers and nurses across the country who showed up to the office today. People in this city need to do the same. It's an overwhelmingly popular policy with people outside of Washington, D.C. President campaigned on this and his administration's keeping the promise.
Quick question to follow up on that. How much more is it going to cost? Because a lot of the space has now been given away. Leases have expired. New purchases need to take place. What will it cost to bring all those workers back to create the new offices they need?
It's going to save tens of millions of dollars because this government has been wasting millions of dollars on empty office space. That is beautiful. I mean, look at the buildings in this city. They're gorgeous. They've been here for decades, and the American people are paying for them. And so we're going to make good use of the office space in this city by having these federal workers return to work. I would also add that the order simply directs federal agencies to come up with a return to work plan. And so this isn't a purge, and this isn't forcing every single individual in Washington, D.C. to return to work, only if they are able and, of course, within the law.
Okay, so that's the second question she gets on the same subject. This time it's a gotcha question of how much is this going to cost? It's going to be so much more expensive. You know, before COVID, they all had to show up for work. Then COVID comes, they go home. How did they ever make it before COVID dealing with the same expense? They act like suddenly it all goes through the roof. She's just saying they have to just come up with a plan. So a lot of this is, I think, the Trump administration walking back some of the more hardcore sounding facts about this plan of forcing federal workers back into the office. I think every one of them should have to show up.
One more quick one, if I can, about the defense secretary right now. We've heard that Pete Hegseth has now taken away the security protections that General Mark Milley has. Ahead of his confirmation, Pete Hegseth said that his priority would be focusing on the warriors within the military as his number one priority, not politics. Is this putting politics before the warrior workforce by focusing on what seems to be punitive in the eyes of many critics?
No, the first action that Pete Hegseth took when he showed up at the Pentagon was telling that the warriors that work within that building, and most importantly our service members who serve this country in uniform, that DEI would no longer be a part of the United States military. military. We're focused on lethality, we're focused on strength again, and we're focused on rebuilding our military, which is something we haven't seen over the past 4 years. As for General Milley, the president's position on this remains the same as it does for John Bolton and the other individuals. He doesn't believe that these people should have the right to have security clearances and private details for the rest of their lives.
Now, on that one, I think I'm going to accuse her of doing a little bit of spin. First of all, it's a gotcha question by the press again, a disingenuous gotcha question. Why did Trump remove a security detail for Mark Milley? And then she says they don't need it for their whole lives. That's not entirely true. Trump's being accused of political retribution. It's not political retribution. John Bolton traitorously revealed secrets in his book to try to slam Trump. And Mark Milley committed treason in saying that he called the Chinese Communist government, their military head, and said, look, if Trump launches some kind of an attack, I will call you first preemptively. He did that without the president's permission. So that's what she should have said is why those two guys lost their security detail. It's these people were not trusted with, because it's not just security detail. It's all those intelligence agents have a right to monitor, the ability to monitor citizens. So what really they're doing, they're taking away their eyes and ears to have them be able to be investigators and stuff and give them special privileges and special intel. They can't be trusted with the intel is the correct answer, Ms. Levitt, but she still did pretty good.
Again, taxpayers are funding it. And the individuals you're mentioning are quite wealthy, I understand. So they can get their own private security if they wish.
I had a couple questions just about the freeze on federal loans and grants. What will the report and review process look like when it goes to OMB for review? And also, now that a federal judge has temporarily blocked it, what are the plans moving forward on that? Because it seems like that Q&A memo that was released yesterday as well was trying to kind of explain a lot of the widespread confusion that a lot of these different organizations who rely on that funding had. So I'm just on both of those questions.
Yeah, well, that's why the Q&A was released, so that there is no confusion. There's no confusion within this building. I know there is, again, amongst the media and those who don't seem to just be able to read a memo and take it for what it is.
Read the memo. That's my favorite answer, because they keep asking the same thing. This time they're going like, well, what about the loans and stuff that you guys froze? And she goes, I put out a memo so you can read it. And they're asking about it again, even though it was all answered on that memo, because this is about Karoline Leavitt is fantastic, thinking on her feet, talking. She's not reading from a binder. She's not flummoxed. She's not void of words. She doesn't have outrageously long pauses, repeating herself with needless detail. She's really giving them content-rich information. Now, they're asking bad questions. That's not her fault. That these are trivial, not what Americans care about. It's all made. The media right now has got the message full time. We're going to foment fear about Trump's deportation. So they have to show all the families being broken up and everyone crying, Trump is going after good people, not just criminals. They have to foment all the fear about the government programs being cut or frozen for now, going like, oh, we're going to not be able to pay our military. No, that's not what it means. So they're putting out their disinformation because the media did not learn anything from the election once again. They're still playing the last 4 years game without realizing, wait till they get the new journalists in this room. Like, I want to see Ducey ask Karoline Leavitt a question. Ducey, a conservative, a Christian, a Fox person, will actually ask a very interesting challenge to her and the Trump administration. It won't just be rah, rah, go, go. It'll be a very interesting, well thought out question, because they're not there just to destroy Trump and get their person elected.
It's very clear. This is a temporary pause on federal funding to ensure that tax dollars are not funding things that this president has signed out of law. So the Green New Deal, DEI, etc. As I said repeatedly yesterday, and I would like to double down on the fact that Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, which I'd like to be clear on that today, welfare benefits, individual assistance, food stamps, etc., will not be impacted. So the American people should not be confused about this. And in fact, they should be grateful that this administration is actually valuing their hard-earned tax.
They're being responsible. I saw some of the stuff that's shut down, and it's a lot of the kind of world NGOs, you know, frankly, that were guilty of a lot of human trafficking, that they're just shutting down. You know, they're not going to fund it. It's a temporary freeze, and then they can go in and more carefully look and tell them, look, if you remove this part of DEI, Catholic Charities, from your charities, then maybe we might fund you again.
Well, what about the federal? What is the response though to the federal judge who's temporarily blocked this? That's expected to play out in court on Monday. What are your guys' plans regarding that? And also, just going back to the review process, what does that look like?
Everything this administration does is within the confines of the law, and so we're prepared to fight this battle in court.
And goodbye. She goes, we're going to fight this in court. It's all legal, and we're going to find out when it goes to a court, hopefully not a DC court with a bunch of Biden donors on the jury, Biden judges, Biden appointments. It's important that you can shop for a good judge, maybe get a venue change. What do you guys think? How's Leavitt doing? This is this morning, just a live. She went up and hit the press. Look at, she's not an official press room. She's out on the streets doing her job, just like Trump. They've got nothing to hide, guys. I'm Doug in exile.